So comparing the two modular designs, that's about they have some things in common, but look at the bow. Notice the height above the water in comparison. The width actually comes pretty close. Now the Rum Runner is wider than some paddle boards, but that actually gives you real good stability. You see the same thing though, a kayak designer designing a paddleboard with those gear rails down the side of the cockpit. I don't know why in the world, if you were a stand-up paddleboarder, you'd want something like a rod holder or a GoPro mount or anything clamped in there. It's just something to clobber with your paddle and trip you up. I don't know if you can see it in the waves, but the hull of the Rum Runner is undulating a little bit with the waves coming on the shore. There is a little bit of flex in this because of that, versus I noticed no flex in the Easy Eddy. The Easy Eddy has buckles on the top and the bottom, and it is as rigid as something that comes apart in pieces is going to be. It's still disappointing to me because I couldn't necessarily get another one and stick more of the middles in, or stick the bow and stern together. But that's just me being ridiculous. Actually, maybe you could stick the bow and stern. I got to try that. I haven't tried it yet. The shapes almost could match. I'd have to see about the other parts. But anyways, that's just me being ridiculous. I'm good at that. The height above water, especially on the bow, you really see the difference. You know, this is a breezy day. We get some chop, fight the wind every now and then. The Rum Runner, I've never taken water over the bow unless I splashed it purposely with a paddle. You can see the depth of that bow. It pierces the waves rather than trying to plow through them. And yes, you do get a little bit of gaps in the hull, as you can see right there, because the bow is up on the beach. But even those gaps don't hurt performance. You can't hear anything is happening from them, and they're just a function of the way the hull is attached together. There's like a hook inside of the way they go together. The stern doesn't float as well as you think. If you try and go back there and monkey with anything, it sinks right into the water. And I have some funny video. I'll see if I can find it and stick it in here. If I take a group of kids paddling, so of course they had to take this apart and try and float around on little pieces of it in the water. And it doesn't float too well, but they had a lot of fun, which is the point of it all. It'll be interesting, because if we do it again this year like we usually do, I'm sure they'll do the same thing with the Easy Eddy, and that floats even less. It doesn't have as much buoyancy. It also doesn't have as much weight, so who knows. It'll be interesting to test that out, but I'm not a lightweight teenager that could do something like that. Maybe my kids will at some point. But yeah, just looking at the height of the boat, looking at length. Obviously length makes for a faster paddle or oar type craft because of something called hull speed, which basically the shorter your water line is, the sooner it hits displacement, and then instead of going faster, it just tries to dig a hole in the water and sink itself. And you'll put a whole lot of effort into making a bigger and bigger wake and go nowhere faster because you've hit the speed limit. And so a longer hull, a smoother sided, notice the nice curve of the .65. The designer definitely knew his kayaks, definitely knew the flow of water that you want to have going down the side. And the Easy Eddy has the typical paddleboard shape, which is a good shape for especially the rounded all around design. It's really too bad they didn't think of putting a wave piercing design like the racers have on this, more pointy and taller, because it would really help the performance of this board. But either one is nice. If you're an apartment dweller, and I've shown it before, look it up on here, I'll show you. Easy Eddy has one more trick that .65 doesn't have. It has a nice dolly that you can buy with it. It straps on, all the pieces go on, it's nice and light, and then you can, let's say you live in an apartment, maybe you have to go in an elevator or even go up the stairs. This assembled is not too heavy especially with the two-wheel dolly, to pull up a flight of stairs. It will sit right in a closet, nice and compact, where the rum runner, yeah, it will fit in a closet, but each piece is like 20 some pounds. And if you get the rum runner 12.5, that center section is going to be another foot longer, and another foot with the thickness of this plastic is going to be even more weight. And this thing is already up 60 some pounds. It's a tank, which is what makes it great if you're running into a chop or whatever, because the weight, once you get it going, just rides through with inertia. But between the two of them, I prefer the rum runner, but I'm just not needing a modular, so I probably won't use either one of them unless I'm taking a group of kids paddling or demonstrating modular to somebody.